Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. All right, officially, good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for attending this Nonprofit Resource Hub event, Best Practices on How to Hire and Onboard Staff During a Pandemic, presented by PNP Staffing. My name is Christine Deska. I'm the co-founder of Nonprofit Sector Strategies. We're a proud founding member company of the Nonprofit Resource Hub, or NRH. So who is NRH? NRH is a trade association whose mission is to serve, be a resource to, educate, and connect its members to the nonprofit community. At the same time, NRH serves the nonprofit sector as a bridge connecting nonprofit organizations to resources and to each other. So what do we do for nonprofits? We share a directory of vetted, trusted organizations that provide quality products, services, and education to the sector, and we're continuously adding new associate members. These associate members go through a rigorous process to ensure their quality of service is top-notch for all of our nonprofit partners and the sector at large. NRH also hosts networking sessions and events to foster opportunities for collaboration, both with other like-minded nonprofit organizations and with leaders serving the sector. We also provide information and insight to the nonprofit sector to keep organizations informed about key issues and resources that exist within the sector. We offer expert advice and consultation to the sector to help organizations effectively further their missions. And lastly, we're a one-stop resource hub for nonprofits, providing a single access point for information. NRH was founded by 5 member companies. I mentioned we're one of them, Nonprofit Sector Strategies. Also, Serini and Associates, Sir Tillman Ballin Attorneys, Triumph International Consulting, and Vanguard Insurance Agency. So another PSA, our website is up and running, actually since May, I believe. It's nonprofitresourcehub.org. Maybe one of my colleagues can pop that into the chat, nonprofitresourcehub.org. And we really encourage any nonprofits joining us today to sign up as a nonprofit partner. There's absolutely no cost, and there's plenty of benefits for nonprofit partners. You can add your events to our calendar on our site. We also have articles and many helpful items that you can check out. And once you join, you'll enjoy the host of nonprofit partner benefits, and your logo and mission will be on our website with a link to your site. And this just in, as an added incentive, if your organization signs up between now and the end of the year, you will have a chance to win one of 5 $200 donations from NRH. So please, it takes, I think, less than a minute to sign up, and it's completely free. It's just a great resource hub, and we hope you'll all join us. So I also want to thank our associate members for joining NRH. Those include PNP Staffing, Premier Payroll, Powered by Professionals, 5 Star Advertising, Morgan Stanley, Sterling Risk, Lee Nolan, Sir Tillman Ballin, and your part-time controller. We will be sending out a survey at the end of the session. Please let us know your feedback. That helps us get better and continue to deliver better content as we move forward. This is our 3rd webinar, and we've had a really great reception and turnout, and we're really pleased that you're all able to join us this afternoon. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce our speaker this afternoon, Brandi Desousa. As Managing Director of PNP's DC and Philadelphia offices, Brandi brings an exceptional record of success in building relationships, business development, communications, and talent management to her leadership work in staffing for organizations around the country. For over 10 years at PNP, Brandi has been developing effective growth and expansion initiatives that uniquely serve nonprofits and associations, always seeking opportunities to bring her clients the best in talent acquisition and client services. Her expertise in talent management is invaluable as she partners with organizations to support sustainability, diversity, and capacity building. Brandi is a working member of several nonprofit boards as well, where she shares her expertise by assisting with strategic staff planning and management. She's also completed executive education programs at Syracuse University and MIT, specializing in the human services sector. So welcome, Brandi, and thank you so much for making the time to share your expertise. I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us a chance to go over some of our services and also just to help the sector when it comes to hiring and onboarding staff during this pandemic. I am Brandi Desousa. I'm the managing director here at PMP Staffing Group. And I just want to say you might be serenaded by the sounds of Washington, D.C. I am working from home, as most of us are. So just in case, I'll make sure I speak loud enough so you can hear me. So just a little bit about what I'm currently doing. I am currently working with organizations that have staff between 400 employees to 200 employees on things like hiring, onboarding and orientation, compensation, workforce planning, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And many times in working with these organizations, the major part or the bigger need that the sector has is really around recruitment, pre-onboarding, orientation, and understanding the importance of the first week. So that's what we'll be talking about in this presentation. So working with nonprofits, I've come to find that a lot of nonprofits, specifically leaders, think that onboarding starts at the B after you give an offer letter. And that's not really true, right? Onboarding starts really at the recruitment process. Onboarding starts where you have a posting. You want to make sure that your posting not only reflects the duties and requirements of the role, but it also reflects your organization. It talks to your culture. It speaks to the values and the missions of your organization, and making sure that you have core competencies intertwined within the requirements of the role so that you are actually attracting and engaging the appropriate candidates. And that's really where the employee experience starts. Let's look at let's look at different things that we've been able to use and leverage during the pandemic. Job boards. Job boards like Indeed and Idealist have really stepped up, and they've changed the way you're able to interact with them and able to post your positions. Now you're able to post positions and really specify that it is a remote role. So this will allow you to be able to cast a wider net and have a bigger talent pool for the positions that you're looking for. Also, Indeed has a new feature where you're actually able to put your COVID statement on the bottom of the posting. This is great because there are some times where we would be recruiting for a role, doing some onboarding for the role, but it might be a hybrid position where the person would be coming into the office, or this is an essential role and the person needs to actually come into the office every day. So with your COVID statement out there and prominently positioned, candidates are able to see how you are handling the pandemic and what are some of the things that you've put in place so that people will be safe and be able to come into work. The next thing is virtual job fairs. Job fairs and open houses are hard anyway, so doing it virtually is another step in terms of logistics and getting it together. But we've been able to really leverage virtual job fairs in a way that helps us attract and engage a diverse talent pool. When you're doing this, you can use platforms like WebEx or Zoom, where you would really be able to bring in as many candidates as possible that fit within what you're looking for. So you could do one specifically on development or one specifically on programs, and then really have breakout sessions within the job fair so that you're able to speak with different people, with different candidates at different professional levels. So maybe you would have a breakout room for executives and a breakout room for senior managers and then entry level. You'll be able to do that all at once. And again, using platforms like WebEx and Zoom, they're really great for those types of things. Another thing that has been really popular is recorded questions and talent assessments. I like the thought around this, around recorded questions and talent assessments, where you get to ask every individual, every person that's applying to the role, the same question, and then you're able to see how they answer it. And a lot of times you're not doing this so that you can hear a right or wrong answer. It's more so to gauge how this person thinks and then how they're able to articulate the message to you. Talent assessments, they're hit or miss, right? As we know, in terms of pros, when it comes to talent assessments, you get to save time in the hiring process, when you do put these different assessments out, you also get to screen for specific roles. So if it's something that is heavy customer service, you can create and customize a talent assessment so that you're asking specific questions to gauge this person's ability to do work well with people or to be able to problem solve. But there are some big cons as well when it comes to talent assessments. One of them being that you don't really get to see the whole picture of the candidate. Sometimes when it comes to talent assessments, you really are seeing one note, right? And that is not always the best, because you want to get kind of a holistic view of the candidate and what they're able to offer and how they're able to contribute to the organization. Another con is that talent assessments have been proven to be biased. So depending on the talent assessment, you will get one type of candidate, right? And that's not always what you're looking for, specifically when you're looking to diversify your staff and in any way possible. So understanding that you can use these assessments, but you take everything with a grain of salt. You also make sure that you're able to read through assessments and gather your own, get your own notes and figure out where you want to go with that person. Another thing is search committees. When it comes to search committees, specifically in virtual recruitment, it's very important. And I would say that this is pretty important for almost every role that you are going to be recruiting for, especially when you're going to do virtual onboarding and then virtual orientation. And then if this is going to be a virtual remote role. So what you do is you end up getting a panel of invested employees that would probably be key stakeholders within the organization. So people who are going to be working with the new employee every day, people who are going to be interacting with this new employee in different ways throughout the organization, but maybe in different departments. You want to get as many people as possible to be a part of the process because, again, you get an investment. So the employees are invested in the success of the candidate, but also it sets the tone for orientation and creating a team atmosphere. You remember the person that you just interviewed, even though they might not be in your department, you're still going to work with them maybe 4 days out the week or 3 days out the week. So a lot of times it's really good to be able to create different committees in terms of your hiring and have that come through. And then when it comes to virtual interviewing, you can use several platforms. Again, Zoom, WebEx, those are the ones that a lot of organizations are using. Depending on your HRS system or your applicant tracking system, there might be some type of software that would be connected to that. I know for us, when we do our interviews, we actually have our own proprietary software. So we're able to have video interviews and panel interviews, but also get real-time feedback from each individual person and participant within the interview. And they're able to ask follow-up questions at the end so that we're able to really get an understanding of the candidate. And then I want to kind of shift, right? So we spoke about how onboarding really starts at the recruitment phase, but another thing that we don't talk about is that there's a difference between onboarding and orientation, right? Onboarding is going to be the logistic parts of it. Who do I go to when I want to speak about benefits? Where is parking? What is the teleworking policy and how does that play out? That's the onboarding part. Orientation really is the part where you build a connection and then you transfer, or you build a connection with the new hire, and you also make the connection with your culture and your mission and values of the organization. So when we're talking about onboarding, we need to start with pre-onboarding. We need to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row for when this person comes in, because that first week needs to be about orientation and getting someone ready to go and ready to be productive. So you want to make sure that you have a few things. These are things that you would do even if we weren't in a pandemic. You would want to designate a day one team leader. This person should be the hiring manager, or maybe even a mentor that you have, because this person is going to be the person that everyone is going to go to whenever this person is going to be who the new hire goes to when they have a question about tactical things. So where is the restroom? Where is the coffee maker? Things like that. Also, who do I talk to in case of this? Who's in charge of this department? So things like that. That's where the leader is going to be able to be the most useful. You want to create a clear agenda. And when I say a clear agenda, I really mean at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., we're going to be doing this. From 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., we're going to be doing this. And really have a schedule. Because when you're onboarding virtually, there can be a lot of free time within your home. And you just don't want to have any lag time. You don't want the new hire to be disengaged. So understanding that those are things that you need to do. Also in the pre-onboarding part of this, you really have to look at what hardware looks like, right? I have a few clients that we've been able to do about 7 or 8 hires this year, and they have to order hardware for every new employee that comes in. You have to take into consideration, how long does that take to get here, right? Like, so if I reach out to IT and I send in an order, I need a laptop, I need this, I need that, how long will that take to get to the new hire? And this is going to let you be able to better assess what date you should have as a start date for an offer letter. If a candidate can start in 2 weeks, but then equipment won't get there for another 4, it doesn't make sense to have them start within a 2-week period. So just understanding what that looks like for your team. The next part is orientation. Orientation is really my favorite part of this, because it's really where you get to know the meats and the potatoes of the organization. So you have your onboarding piece, the pre-onboarding piece, and you understand where to go, what to do, who to talk to. Now you need to understand some tangible things about the organization. I've been working with a few nonprofits where we've been able to modify a lot of their current content that they had hard copies of, and modify it so that it works for virtual learning and virtual understanding. So turning PDFs into cloud-based workbooks, changing handbooks so that they're video-based now. When you have a partner with someone, and this is not so much the mentor, but a partner within a department for the new hire that comes in, having time where this person is going to be sharing their screen. Those things are really helpful when you're looking at ways to share knowledge, and not so much knowledge about the position, but institutional knowledge about your organization and who you are. Also, again, you can always make really quick videos. You can also do like a welcome to the team. I've seen that done, and I've seen it done successfully, where different team members will introduce themselves, talk about what they currently do, how this person will relate to them, and then what some of the goals are, and they're looking to accomplish within the first 60 days, 60, 90, and the year mark. And that leads us to planning the first week, right? So you do all of this so that you have a person who's able to hit the ground running. You have a new hire that's able to be productive quickly. We all hear about it. It's the 4 C's in onboarding, the 4 C's in HR: compliance, clarification, culture, and connection. Compliance really is the onboarding part of the process. Compliance really sticks to making sure that you have the right forms, making sure the documents are filled out, making sure that the person knows who to go to for what. Clarification, that's all around the role. That happens between the hiring manager and the new hire, where we see the job description, but that sometimes changes once you come in, based off of more context around the role and what that really looks like. You share more information about the organization and where you are, what your strategic plan is, and how to get to the next step. So the clarification part is really the part where you are clarifying what the role is and how that is with the organization. Culture. We hear this word a lot. And I think that the bigger thing we want to look at is, we're not really looking for candidates to come in and assimilate into our culture, right? That's really not the best way to have something, or to get buy-in from anyone. What you want to do is you want to see how you want to translate how this person can contribute to the culture of your organization, how they will be able to make a difference within the organization and support the organization for the better. And then connection. That goes along with having a mentor of Onboard to support them with having the support of HR and the support of the hiring manager, having a connection to the organization, not just the mission of the organization, but a lot of the other things about the organization, the commitment to diversity, right? So seeing that and seeing how that plays out within the organization through their policies and procedures, a commitment to being green, seeing how that plays out in a commitment in policies and procedures. And that's where people really start to get that connection, because they see that there is what they saw in their job description or how they read about this organization isn't just fluff. It's not just the words. They're actually walking the walk and talking the talk. And then lastly, continuity. This is really just a result of you being able to do all 4 of these things purposefully and doing it right. So making sure that you're not spending too much time on compliance and no time on culture, or spending too much time in clarification, but not so much time on making the connection. Once you've done all of these right and you've given enough time for the onboarding process, continuity will happen. This person will start to eat, live, and breathe the way you guys work and how you work. And they will be committed to the mission. They'll be committed to the organization, and they'll be committed to the growth and of what that looks like. And that is it. I know that we will be looking to take questions. I have my colleague Chris here, so if there are any questions that have been in the Q&A, Chris will be able to read them out loud for me.
Hey, Brandi. So actually right now we don't have any questions in the Q&A or in the chat. I just had maybe a quick question regarding, the 4 C's. You mentioned obviously all 4 of them, and then it can kind of contribute into the final one. If you had to say what would be the most important of the 4 for each organization to really nail, to make sure that the hire comes in and is working to the best of their ability, what would you say would be the one that an organization really should focus on when they bring in a new candidate?
I would say that there isn't going to be one that you should focus on more so or is more important. I would say that standard, in terms of standard and what that looks like, typically nonprofits will, and not just nonprofits, but HR professionals will focus a lot on the compliance piece. And there is not an adequate schedule or an adequate process that allows for the other C's to happen, right? So you spend so much time on your first day going over paperwork and where to go and what to do, but then there is no person that talks about what is the model? Like, how do we do what we do and why do we do what we do, right? So even outside of the core things that your mission takes care of, how does that translate into your everyday work? How does that translate into what you do every day? I'm currently working with a client where a lot of what they do is very much ingrained in social justice, right? So they have conversations, hard conversations every day about things like this. And they talk about racial inequity. They talk about wage gaps. These are things that happen. They also make sure that they have full transparency with their benefits and their compensation, so everyone knows what everyone is making. These are how they translate how their policies and values into their everyday life and what they do within the organization.
Got it. Okay, we got a couple of questions coming in right now. One of them asked how to promote that a job is now remote, but sometime in the future will need to work in the office. So how do you handle that, possibly going to that hybrid model? So
that's a really good question. Thank you for the question. It's really making sure that you have an understanding of what the policy is, like what your organization's policy is, and then how it's going to be flexible. I think right now, most of us have an understanding of right now we're remote, but this is not going to be something that's going to be permanent. And if it's not going to be something that's permanent, how am I going to roll that out and phase that out? Like I mentioned on Indeed, you do have a COVID policy part where you can fill out any information. You can talk about how do you handle people coming in, whether you take temperatures and things like that. But in that same part, you can also say that currently this position is going to be remote, or it's a hybrid of maybe 2 days in the office and 3 days from home. And this is what this looks like. So just clearly communicating that up front is going to be really helpful.
Would you, like you said, would you put that in the job description possibly, or would you just kind of communicate that as you talk to the candidates?
I would put it in the job description.
Okay. Then we have another question. You mentioned putting handbooks to videos, or obviously making things that were physical into the digital. What would be the best way for that to happen? And, in terms of putting handbooks to videos or possibly handbooks into PDFs and such?
So currently, I've done it a few ways. I've done it where we've actually created material through graphic design so that we can do a new onboarding process with an organization that has what the onboarding schedule looks like, and then everything else you need up until 90 days, including links where that you'd be able to access through an intranet, the employee handbook and how-to manuals. So if you're able to work with your IT team and create an intranet, that's probably the most low-cost way of doing it. If you're working with a PEO, or if you're working with an HRS like Zenefits or Bamboo HR, they actually have ways that you can convert your current stuff into videos, as well as PDFs and live things that you can always stream from the cloud.
Okay. Then we have a really interesting question here. It says, when a new employee starts in the organization, someone, usually takes them around the office, makes introductions, those kind of impromptu chats that are, obviously just natural and happen in a office environment. In a remote environment, how do you promote those interactions in a comfortable and authentic way?
So what I do is, and what we've worked on with a few clients is, you set up one-on-ones, right? So again, having people involved in the interview process gets more buy-in from your current staff, right? For the employees that's coming in. Then once you have a process where you have one-on-ones with these key staff members that happen more frequently in the beginning and can kind of taper off into making their own schedule towards the 60 and 90 day mark, that's when you're able to do that. What I have suggested is actually creating appointments within people's calendar so that they know that this is the time where you're going to talk about this, and this is where we're going to leave off for this. And then at the end of the day, kind of doing a debrief with some of those key internal employees outside of the new hire, so that everyone can debrief on what was said and what might need to be touched on again later on in the week, or later on within the onboarding process.
And would just to kind of piggyback on that, would you say having something like Slack or Microsoft Teams that's kind of always open, that you can kind of have those side chats within individuals, would that open the lines of communication even more?
Yeah, definitely. I prefer Slack. I know that a lot of people because you have Microsoft already, you have Microsoft Teams, and it is a very easy IM system that they have. Just looking at the way the formatting is for actual video calls, that can be a little trying. It's not as natural as like Zoom or WebEx or any other thing that you have that is a little different. But it is great because you get to have those channels open. I know for us internally, we have Slack, and we actually have different Slack channels based off of departments, and then even sub channels based off of people's specific roles within the department and things that need to be done.
Okay. And going back to the 4 C's, a couple of questions coming in regarding culture and connection, and how they are kind of very connected toward each other. Can you just expand a little bit more on that and kind of discuss, how culture and connection work kind of interchangeably?
Yeah. So the culture of your organization is going to be it's going to feel like it's the same thing, right? But one needs to come before the other. So the culture of your organization is really who you guys are, how you guys work, what your mission is, right? And then how you have that mission and how you display that mission externally. You're going to have to make a connection internally and connect the dots internally as well. We are in a place where candidates, whether they are across generations, they want to connect to something that means something, right? And we've had we've had spots where nonprofits are doing great things externally, but not so much internally, right? They are known in the community for everything that they do externally, but internally they have no retention rate, right? Like they have heavy turnover. There is organizational mistrust. There is all these things that are happening. So internally, you want to make sure that you're as healthy and you are the same way externally. So again, making sure that if you say that to the community that you serve, you handle people with care. Internally, you should be handling people with care. If externally, you are supporting a specific group, internally, you should be supporting those same groups, and internally, you should be providing those same resources. So just making sure that what you say externally matches how you are internally.
Got it. And then also we have another question. What process would you suggest to engage remote staff to understand the mission of the organization? So I guess it kind of speaks a little bit more to that external, internal.
I like videos, if I'm being honest. I think that videos, one, they are attention grabbing, and two, they can be engaging. Whereas, you can have meetings to your blue in the face, but I think once you're seeing kind of what that looks like in terms of in a video, seeing the interaction in staff, that media is really resourceful and really helpful. Also, just making it very clear, right? What I did this summer is I worked with a few organizations where we did some workforce planning. And what we did is we interviewed every individual within the organization. And what we did was create job descriptions, right, that matched the core values and the mission of the organization. And then we created core competencies that fit within what that looks like. So again, saying that, you need to be, excellent in this, but what does that look like for your position specifically within an organization? And again, aligning all of these things together.
Okay. And then we have another question here. Could you give an example of what the talent assessment process is like?
Meaning for the quizzes and things like that?
Yeah, I think the quizzes and then also the kind of candidate assessment and personality assessment, stuff like that.
Sure. So you have a few different ones. I prefer skills assessments because they are very specific, right? Like if I'm looking for an accountant, I want to know that they understand GAAP principles and that they work well with Excel and things like that. So those are skill assessments, and you are able to create those different modules together to create one assessment for someone based off of the position. Then you have things like personality assessments that are good, but again, can be read through a lens of bias. We are not a one-size-fit-all culture, so one thing in terms of how someone may answer a question and they might be eliminated through that screening might show out differently based off of different cultures. And that's just really what it is. So again, there are some personality assessments that are intertwined into skills assessments, and those can be biased. So just steering clear of those types of assessments would be best practices, and really keeping things based off of the skills. If you want to gauge someone's personality and you want to gauge someone's commitment to the job and things like that, you would do that in an interview rather than having a assessment do it.
Okay, and we have one more question here. Are there different strategies? It says, are there different strategies for virtually onboarding mid-leadership roles? And to kind of expand on that, would you say there's different strategies for a lower level admin role versus an executive role? Would you keep the strategy basically the same, or would you kind of change a little bit and kind of mold it to fit the position?
I would say that no matter what the position is, you will probably have to make some adjustments and customize it for the specific role. When it comes to different professional levels, entry level, it's going to be a little different. You might not have to have as many touch points internally with this person as you would for someone who is an executive, and what that looks like in terms of a mid-manager. Working with senior management, typically they are kind of in the middle, so they are touching everything and everyone. They might actually have to have a lot more interactions, and their onboarding process would have to be a little more integrated with the current staff than you would someone who's entry level.
All right, and that's all the questions we have. So just everyone out there, if you have any questions that popped up, I will throw my email address into the chat. So that way, if you want to send anything to me or Brandi, you can email me, and then I'll send it over, and we'll answer it. We'll try to get to everything the guys sent to us.
All right, thanks, Chris. And Brandi, thank you so much for the wealth of knowledge and experience you shared with us. Amazing. And thank you, PNP staffing, also for providing all the resources that you provided today to share this with our organization. And you also do all the information that's available on your website to download. And we encourage all our attendees today to go to their website and see the information that is freely available to assist each of your organizations in hiring. Certainly, is it ever more important than now to know about proper onboarding and hiring and recruitment than today in this pandemic? As important as it was pre-pandemic, it's that much more important now. So thank you again, Brandi and PNP staffing. Thank you also, NRH, for putting on this webinar and for the continued effort and process that you bring to our organization. Please we're looking forward to the future webinars that we'll bring on. And lastly, all the PowerPoint slides that Brandi presented today and the video has been recorded for this presentation. It'll all be available. Usually it's available within 24 hours. So thank you all for attending. Thanks for your attention, for your good questions, and we look forward to seeing you in future webinars. Thanks all. Take care. Bye.